can now officially project that Donald Trump will become the 47th president of the United States. He will be going back to the White House.
I will fight for you, for your family, and your future with every breath in my body.
We're never going to stop fighting for you, for your dreams, for the future of your children. We're going to lead the greatest comeback in American history under Donald Trump's leadership.
God spared my life for a reason, to restore America to greatness. Together we can truly make America great again.
Thomas, how's it going, man?
Hey, Richie. It's going good, bro.
It's been a while, huh?
It has.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
No, it's just busy. Life goes on, you know?
It does. It's been so freaking busy, too, at work.
Yeah.
I've been telling you, I've been working like 12-hour shifts. Last week, it was like all 12-hour shifts, except for Friday.
Jeez, everyone getting into that medical insurance
Yeah,
policies.
the deductibles are being met, so you can get your surgery done, without your insurance will pay for it because you've met your deductible. So that's what everybody's trying to do. So
Yeah. What do you think about, why do people wait that long? If it's really that like big deal or?
Well, it's like, so you have so insurance companies you'll get like so much from your insurance company or from medical care that you have to pay out of pocket, before your insurance company really starts like covering things a lot.
Oh, I see.
So major surgeries, you want to meet your deductible, so you pay like basically nothing.
So you
your
use it
surgery.
throughout the year, and then at the end of the year, you just pay
yeah.
whatever is left, and then they'll deduct it.
Exactly.
Oh, got it.
Exactly.
I never.
So you have to meet your deductible every year too. So if you wait until like January or something and you haven't met your deductible, and you haven't, it like resets on you.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah, so that's why they try to get it like right towards the end of the year. They got the most out of their insurance as they can, and they've paid out of pocket as much as they can, or as much as they need to meet that deductible, and now they can get basically free surgery.
So do you think that's why? So because did you hear about the guy who murdered the CEO?
Yeah, Luigi.
Yeah.
Mangione or something
Luigi
like
Mangione. Yep.
that. Yeah.
Why
It
do
was
you
his name.
Why do you think he did that?
Well, I was talking to my fiance. I haven't done a lot. Still reading up on it. He had a back surgery, I think, where something like, I don't know what happened. Something either was malpractice or he needed a revision of some kind, and it wasn't covered by his insurance. And that's what I heard, is like he kind of became like a what they call like disgruntled, I guess, or whatever, So,
Well, I mean, I saw a little bit of his background.
yeah. Oh, sorry for the technical
What is
difficulties
going on
there.
here?
Yeah,
My goodness, time to upgrade.
Lordy. Yeah.
But
Anyways.
anyway, yeah. So I looked a little bit of his background, and I mean, he comes from a wealthy family.
That's what they're saying, and I like really didn't understand, and I still don't really understand. Like he was like had a well-established family and wealthy family, and maybe it was just a principle of the matter. Maybe he could afford a surgery or something like that, but it was like principle of the matter of I have no idea. I don't know.
That makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
That makes no sense.
Dude had everything going for him too. It seemed like
Yeah,
in
his
life,
parent-
he was a handsome guy. Had good education. Had good ties in the community with his family, and
Yeah,
and they
good
were
job,
well
good
off.
everything.
Yeah,
No criminal record.
yeah.
That's crazy that someone just. So what I heard was that he was like not heard of for like 3 months, and then all of a sudden, boom, this happened. So
Oh,
something happened
yeah,
between
I read that.
his life. All right, we are back.
We're back.
Okay, a little difficulty there.
Sorry, guys. We're gonna upgrade soon. The mics aren't the most top notch right now, but we're
Thanks, China.
Yeah. For real though, for real. I'm sure that's where we got this
Yeah, but
shit.
what were we? We were talking about how it just didn't make sense that what the crime that was committed, pretty much, and like cold blood murder like that.
Right. It's
No
really,
criminal.
really crazy. He had like etchings on the bullet. I don't know what they said. What did the bullet say?
I don't.
They,
It was like divine, and
yeah.
I think he got that from have you ever seen Sin City?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
when
that
they
was
shoot-
actually a really good movie.
Yeah. But anyway, we're going off topic here.
No, that's okay.
But so
So his bullets had a message on them when they like took a microscope to them. So I'm looking that up right now to see what it was, and something because his gun was what they call a ghost gun,
mhm.
and what that is just untraceable. So it was like 3D printed.
Oh, okay.
And I guess he had the gun on him when they found him because they
How-
were. I guess
how's
they
that
were,
work? 3D. How's that work? I've never heard of a gun that's like that.
Well, so everything's 3D printed on it. So imagine all the parts of a gun taken apart.
Oh, okay.
And then
So he installed it all together himself.
yeah. So he would 3D print. Most likely, I would assume this is how he would do it, because I don't think you can just like 3D print a gun fully assembled. Because there's like a few moving parts there.
Mhm.
So you have to like do each part individually and then just assemble it.
Oh,
And I
okay.
think that's what he did.
Yeah, that's how. I mean, I wouldn't doubt it. He was a smart dude.
Yeah.
I think his degree was in business. Maybe I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, that's just, I don't know. Do you see a conspiracy out of that?
I don't know. My senses just tell me, I haven't even thought about that actually, that it would be a conspiracy. I feel like he had a major medical issue going on, and insurance wouldn't pay for it. From what I understand, from what I've heard, that was like one of the main factors behind this assassination. But well, I mean, I don't think it's much. It might be simpler than what we're trying to like make it out to be.
That's what
do you think that there's a conspiracy, possibly?
Well, what gets me is the 3 months. You go to school, you live a normal life, everything's good. You have your degrees, you got a good job, no criminal background, no nothing, and then you're gone for 3 months, and then you come and just murder the CEO of a massive insurance company.
So what happened during?
Those 3 months?
Yeah, could be anything. I guess.
I heard someone tell
Government got a hold of him.
Well,
somebody got a hold.
Somebody got a hold of him. Somebody. Yeah. You don't just in 3 months change your mind and be like, I'm gonna become a murderer.
Yeah.
Something happened.
I guess it would be interesting to look into like who benefits from the man's death.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But like I said, he was a young kid, wasn't married, no kids, no nothing. I mean, who would benefit off of him? Not his parents. Parents are rich.
Well, not the guy who killed him, but who benefits off of the guy who got murdered being killed?
Everyone who has an insurance company, maybe he thought that they would change their insurance policies.
Like, is there some type of competitor within the? I mean, obviously, insurance companies compete. I would assume. So is there
pharma?
Yeah, they got a hold of Luigi.
They got a hold of Luigi.
Yeah, because I mean, that's how I feel like what happened to Oswald, maybe, who murdered JFK.
Oh yeah,
or at least that's who they pinned it on. Was Oswald.
He did shoot, right?
Yeah.
But it wasn't just him.
But
himself.
Right. So did somebody get a hold of Oswald? I imagine so.
Well, he was in Russia for 2 years, right?
Oh.
Yeah, he was in Russia, came back, and then he was a big, about the communists and so forth and whatnot.
Yeah, see, there's still a whole huge hole to go down on that we haven't talked about.
Lee Harvey Oswald is that is an insane story because, like, oh man, where do I begin? So he was in the military, in the U.S. military, right? Mm-hmm. Had to leave the U.S. military or to a different unit because he wasn't a very good shot. So
really?
Yeah. So I saw this documentary, The Assassination JFK, on Hulu. Check it out, guys, if you're interested in that. They had an actually sniper, like a sniper, like a veteran,
Green Beret,
Green Beret, a veteran sniper, trying to mimic the same act that Lee Harvey Oswald did, and he did it. And this is a professional sniper, and he did it, but 1 second sooner than Lee Harvey Oswald, who was not even
who's not good.
Yeah, who's not
technically not good at shooting.
And I'm like,
so this guy who's like a very good shooter, did it better than Lee Harvey, but only by 1 second.
Yeah, maybe it was a tenth of a second. I could be wrong, but it was no more than a second.
Yeah, it was like
because
Harvey
once you
had
shoot,
no business being able to
right,
pull
you
off
cock
a shot
it back,
like that.
and then you go and you shoot again. You know, it was
So do you think he somehow got better, or that there was somebody else?
There had to be somewhere. I mean, there was multiple shots from different directions.
Yeah.
Everyone wants to pinpoint it on him.
Yeah,
because
that's where the magic bullet.
Comes from. It hits him in the head, and then it goes down into, I think it was the governor's knee at the time, or his hip. I'm sorry. But what's crazy about that, that I think is like the assassination of Lee Harvey Oswald that happened the next day. So there was a mobster, very known mobster called Jack Ruby, who assassinated Lee Harvey Oswald. Why would the mob assassinate him the next day?
In prison?
No, he was like on his way out of the jail to go to the actual jail. Yeah, because he was
like out of the courthouse.
Yeah, he was interrogated and was overnight, and then he was leaving the next day, probably going to jail, waiting for a trial. And Jack Ruby comes and just shoots him, who was also known as a big mobster, like one of the head honchos. He had a strip club, and then these strip clubs,
but that's even
the CIA would be there.
Wasn't it? Because that must have been very public.
Like he got shot on live TV.
Yeah,
they're recording him. Yeah.
So then this gentleman who shot Lee Harvey Oswald was a big time mobster. You said,
yeah, he owned a strip club where.
So that CIA he just totally threw his life away to kill Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, but why would you do that? Is the question. Why would the mob care if Lee Harvey Oswald would got have shot or anything would happen to him?
Well, my theory on that, just off the top of my head, would be, okay, so we, the government, facilitated JFK's death using Lee Harvey Oswald as a scapegoat. Maybe Lee Harvey Oswald didn't shoot. We also had a couple other gunmen. Lee Harvey Oswald knows all this. There's information Lee Harvey Oswald has that we don't want him to, talk about. It could be close to a point where he could leak that information. We got to get rid of him. Okay, who are we going to use to get rid of Lee Harvey Oswald? Okay, we got to use, probably somebody that we can either blackmail in some way, or we can who's already maybe a criminal. We could use a criminal to do it. I mean, what exactly? So we're going to use a mobster. Okay,
decoy.
What was his name?
Lee Harvey Oswald.
Yeah, but who was the guy?
Oh, Jack Ruby.
Jack Ruby. So we're going to use this guy Jack Ruby, who's a big time mobster. And because we already have like physical evidence, video evidence, blah 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 evidence of Jack Ruby doing crimes or whatever. Or we can like say, hey, Jack Ruby, we know you're a criminal, blah blah. We can like pretty much screw with your life any way we want. You have family and friends and stuff like that. We're the government. We're all powerful. We can basically make anybody disappear however way we want. You're going to do this thing for us unless such and such.
So JFK wanted to reunite, that you were going through the whole color white, with bathrooms, what they can use, restaurants.
We're still well within like that time period.
Yeah, we're still well with that time period. And JFK wanted to unite, put that together.
Yeah.
So if you ever notice, here's another conspiracy. Any person, black or white, that wants to reunite, like Malcolm X, Abraham Lincoln, MLK, Martin Luther King, JFK, gets assassinated. Now, why would they get assassinated? Well, because they have different point of views that people don't want to have that kind of lifestyle. But JFK is actually kind of different because this is actually in its own government itself, right? Now you have to add itself the Cold War, okay? The whole missile crisis in the Cold War. Now you have to add the whole Cuban thing with the Bay of Pigs. Now, there's actually, I don't know if you ever heard that Trump wanted to... What's
the Bay of Pigs? If you want to...
Well, the Bay of Pigs,
I don't know about it. So if that's too much to go on right now.
Yeah. I mean, we can talk about the Bay of Pigs one of these days, but what I'm trying to get at is that Trump actually, I don't know if you ever heard him on the Joe Rogan podcast, that he said he wanted to open the JFK files. And now that RFK Jr.'s in it, he's definitely interested in the RFK files. So there in that RFK files,
I imagine RFK would have a lot of.
Well, yeah, it's his uncle. You know, he would definitely want to see what's going on. But in those files, they're worried what's going to come out. So why would the CIA be worried what's coming out? And what's crazy is when JFK got assassinated, right?
Yeah,
he got assassinated the same way that they tried to assassinate Castro. The CIA, because you know the whole missile crisis that they had missiles pointing at the United States and we were going to go into a nuclear war. Yeah, because Russia.
What? Cuba had nukes?
Yeah, they're Russian. They're allied with Russia. See, I'm telling you, it's a whole different ballgame now. So what's going on is, the whole plan, they wanted, the CIA and the U.S. government wanted to assassinate Castro. That was their main goal, right? And they assassinated JFK the same way they had it word from word in a JFK file of how the assassination was going to be for Castro. That's how he got assassinated. So that's where the whole CIA conspiracy comes in now. Yeah, it is. We definitely got to do an episode on just
that is crazy
on just that. Yeah.
Yeah, we will. No, I'm sure.
And then what happens? And you know what I thought was crazy is, later on, I don't know, it's less than 24 hours for sure, LBJ had to be inaugurated into office, right? And he had to...
LBJ?
Yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson.
Oh, Lyndon B. Johnson.
Yeah,
okay.
So he was the vice president at the time. They had to put him... But the reason they did that...
So after JFK got assassinated.
Oh, yeah, less than 24 hours.
So what was it? Lyndon B. Johnson?
Yeah, Lyndon B. Johnson.
Was going to be inaugurated?
Yeah, he was ready to be set to be president, right?
Oh, okay.
Because they needed it 24 hours because of the whole missile crisis deal.
Yeah.
Right? And they had Jackie Kennedy, which is his wife.
So this was all going on, this whole missile crisis during JFK's assassination.
Everything was going on. Dude, yeah, there was a bunch of shit going on that people don't even know about. But she was still covered in his blood while they were inaugurating him in office. That's how quick this shit was.
Wow.
And they told her, they said, do you want to change? She goes, no, I want them to see what they did to him. Yeah, so it gets real. And when she said, I want them to see what they did to him, who's she talking about? The CIA? Or is she talking about the mob? Or is she just talking about
whoever like the powers that be?
She was never she never really
JFK was
clear about what she was saying.
That. You know, that whole speech he gave, that most famous speech of his about, secret societies and things like that, and trying to bring that stuff into the light of the public. And he was definitely ahead of his time on that, and I think that's part of the reason why he got want
to hear a crazy story?
Yeah.
There was, so Jack Rubio, I mentioned he owned a strip club, right? And they had CIA agents, FBI. I mean, you name it. There's policemen. There's all over, mobsters. Everybody was in there. It was a pretty well-known club. Well, they had escorts and prostitutes. Well, they would drug these prostitutes and then do what they did to them and then just throw them out in the streets. Well, one of these guys, and it's unknown what mobster it was, did that to a prostitute, which I have to find her name. I read off of a book of the assassination of JFK, but they threw her in the street. Pedestrians saw her laying on the highway, right? So they raped her, they beat her. She went into the hospital and told the doctor that they were going to assassinate JFK the next day. What? And they did not believe her because she was so drugged out.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
I've never heard that.
Oh, yeah.
What the heck?
And she must have overheard. She's with these guys. These guys are drunk, talking. They had this plan for the longest time. A prostitute could have saved JFK.
But
and nobody believed her.
No one's gonna believe.
No one's gonna believe her because she's all doped up. She's drunk. She's
a prostitute.
Yeah, maybe that was why they just didn't believe her.
Like beyond all the other stuff, all they have to say is like, "Oh, a prostitute said this,"
Yeah.
And so what are they gonna do?
They look at her. Yeah. They look at her bloodstream and they're like, oh, "Okay, this girl has, I don't know what kind of drug she had, meth or ecstasy or whatever the case may be." They're like, "This girl doesn't know what she's talking about." Assassination JFK. Yeah, and then the next day they assassinate him.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Holy crap. Mind blown.
Yeah, that's a book. The Assassination of JFK.
That's
from
in the book?
same documentary. Yeah.
I'll have to borrow that book.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just it's crazy what happened to JFK and what Trump
JFK is the craziest, man. There's that's just scratching the surface. I'm sure. I heard stuff about like the whole autopsy was weird and
he fired he fired one of the head of the CIA. I'm not sure exactly what his position was, but he was one of the heads of CIA. He fired him prior to his murder, and then when they did the investigation of JFK, they hired him right back of the death of JFK.
Who was that again?
The government. The government hired him right back.
Who was it that they hired back?
I would have to look and see. But like I said, we can do an episode of this, and then we can come with all the names, do our research.
Look more into that.
Right now, we're just talking that shiz. But
no, that's crazy, bro.
See, I'm telling you,
JFK's thing is so weird.
Number one,
there's got to be something going on because of all the weird indiscrepancies going on there.
Yeah.
I don't see how anybody can't.
So these files that Donald Trump is coming out with are like, well, we want to release these files. It's going to blow everyone's mind. Yeah. It's going to blow it.
I hope he does. I hope he releases it.
Yeah, he said in the Joe Rogan he's thinking about releasing them.
I know.
So,
dude, can you imagine if that bullet hit the mark on Trump? Holy crap!
Do you think assassination attempts were because he said that?
Maybe
because the guy that they shot, or the kid, because he was like 20 years old or something like that. Dude, they went to his house. Everything was cleared out, super clean. I mean, he didn't even have utensils at his home.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's like if it was an abandoned, clean house when the FBI went over. That makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah.
Like, where did this kid live? And then he was up like in a commercial a couple years prior to that.
He was in a commercial?
Yeah, he was in a TV commercial.
Oh.
Yeah, it's like, what the heck is going on?
That's so weird.
So.
Yeah, that's insane, dude. Yeah. Dude. Oh my gosh.
And then the officers, they're screaming that the guy was in the roof.
Yeah.
The whole time they're like, there's a guy in the roof, and nobody would do anything.
No, I know.
So
it was so weird. And then they wait until after the guy. There was a sniper, right, that had the guy in.
So he had him in his scope.
Sights, in his scope. He waited until he took the shot.
Why would you do that?
I don't know.
What
was the point of that? Of waiting? Why would you not get the president out of there immediately?
Or shoot.
Yeah.
If you see a guy with a scope, these guys are smart as hell. They know he's up there for a reason.
Yeah.
Right?
Makes zero sense. That whole situation makes no sense too. It's as bad as a JFK in terms of how much sense it makes.
None of this happened until the JFK. He said he would like to expose it. So there you go. So now it's beyond my comprehension. Like I'm like, oh shit. Now my brain hurts.
He better still be on the lookout for every assassination attempt out there. Any situation he's in, every time he makes a public appearance, hopefully he's taking those precautions. Yeah. I know he's kind of a little bit wild with like how much he just was like, I don't give a crap. I'm gonna go wherever I want, do whatever I want, still kind of thing. I'm sure. Knowing Donald Trump, but
I feel like he has to.
He better take some precautions. Still,
he has to act like that because if he acts scared, then it shows. Some
you can't act scared. You can't act, but definitely still take your precautions, bro.
Well, it's like Abraham Lincoln. Abraham Lincoln had a Secret Service around him 24/7.
Yeah.
The one time they didn't have him, when he went into the theater, the Ford Theater, and you know what's crazy about Abraham Lincoln? Mm-hmm. Abraham Lincoln was assassinated in Ford Theater. And JFK was assassinated in a Lincoln vehicle, and they're both presidents. They have the same birthday, I believe. Oh, God, I got to look into it, but they have so many similarities together. Yeah. We'll definitely do an episode, and definitely have to bring all the info and stuff like that.
Right, we will.
Yeah, today
that would be an interesting one. Yeah, to just like kind of line up all those similarities.
Yeah,
I didn't know there was that much. Like they have the same birthday.
They had the same birthday. Man, I was just reading about this the other day, and I'm just spacing it out right now. But they had like 15 similarities. Like it was crazy similarities that they had.
It's kind of weird.
Yeah. So, but yeah, we'll see. I think they were like in the presidency. They were presidents 100 years apart.
Right.
Same year. 18. Yeah, I don't know. I would have to see.
A lot of even numbers matching up here.
A lot of numbers that would match up together. And
that's funny.
It's kind of weird.
That is weird.
So, but we definitely have to do that.
Yeah, we'll talk more on that.
And
But I know that we were wanting to get on a little bit more of like what's going on today in current news. There's issues going on that
we definitely know a little bit more about this. So.
Yeah. So I know you've been doing a lot of research on like the tariff thing that Trump is talking about.
Yeah.
And so like what to you is like a tariff, and like why should we be like welcoming a tariff like against other countries?
So I kind of looked into this, and I talked to a lot of people about tariffs, and the people don't like tariffs because the tax is going higher, right, on import goods. They don't want to pay extra for their, whatever. It can be even agriculture. Automobile is huge when it comes to tariffs. But the thing is, so there was a law in 1939 called the Marshall Plan, which when the United States blew the shit out of Germany and Japan from World War II, they said, for you to reconstruct your economy, we're going to give 100% tariffs to us, but we won't charge you any tariffs. That way you have the money to whatever you sell overseas or whatnot, you keep for yourself, right, to rebuild. Dude, when was World War II? Like 80 years ago almost?
Yeah.
So they've been taking advantage of that Marshall Plan for the longest times, right?
So is that like meaning that buying from Germany, which I don't know like the value of German products in terms against like the US dollar, but is that just basically making German products a lot cheaper to buy?
So what? So if you're Germany and you come, let's say I'm Germany and you're the United States, right? You're not charging me tariffs, and if you are, very little.
Okay.
You're driving BMWs, Volkswagen. You're driving German product. While in Germany, they don't drive anything from Chevy, Ford, or anything like that because the tariffs are so damn high. Because that's what they want to charge, high tariffs. Now, who's making the money here? Who's making all the money?
Yeah.
The Germans. Okay. So what does the United States get? They get a high tariff.
Because everybody's buying from Germany.
Because everybody's buying, but no one's buying from the United States. So Trump goes and says, well, wait, that's not fair. Because they're boosting their economy. What about our economy?
Yeah.
They have jobs. They're creating jobs.
Right.
They're creating economy.
Right.
And a lot of that tariff money could also go to their military, boost their military up. Let's say tariffs last 200-300 years, all that money, they can have a better military than us. You know what I mean? In the long run. Or if not now, because it was like 80 years ago. So you got places like China. China comes and says, we're not going to pay any tariffs, but you have to pay tariffs. Okay. So
are we paying tariffs?
Oh yeah.
For China?
Yeah. That's why you don't
Why are China goods cheap? Why are China goods so cheap then?
It goes cheap because they don't pay tariffs. That's why it's so cheap. So when someone comes and says, okay, the iPhone, right?
Yeah.
Everyone complains that if it's
we're paying tariffs on China's goods.
Yeah.
Or we're paying.
Yeah, it's made in China.
Right. Yeah.
So
we're buying China. We're buying a lot from China.
Yeah, we buy a lot from. So it's like, why are we buying from them and they're not buying from us? That's not fair. That's like if you owned a business. Let's say you were in real estate, and I say, look, I'm going to give you some referrals. You give me some referrals. Oh, okay. But the referrals you made off of me, let's say, I'm just going to shoot out a number. Let's say you made $100,000, right, off referrals, and I only made $1,000, and I say, well, what's going on here? I thought we're sending referrals back to each other. And you say, well, I'm sending some people your way, but are you? No, but I'm making all the money off of you. So what happens that China has $900 billion, $900 billion. Anyone can look it up. $900 billion in tariffs that they've made off of us.
Almost $1 trillion.
Almost $1 trillion in tariffs. While the United States has absolute, they make money off tariffs, but they're $900 billion less than China.
Yeah, a lot less. So,
and guess who's the second one? Germany. What a coincidence is that?
Because that's been freaking. Yeah,
so you're
80
getting
years.
Yeah, your business is growing, but mine's not, and we're supposed to work together. So the power of tariffs is, like for instance, you tell China, it's not even about the tariffs actually, to be honest. You tell China, hey, I'm going to charge you tariffs if you don't negotiate right with us. And they'll be like, whoa, they will lose more money off tariffs than they would on anything else.
Yeah. So it's not, so I want to like understand a little bit more too, like about tariffs. So I want to real quick.
I mean, I want to understand a lot more. I'm obsessed with tariffs, to be honest.
I want to get like a couple quick questions on tariffs.
Sure.
So what I was reading about a tariff was that it's basically it's putting
It's like a
more
tax.
taxes,
Mm.
right, towards a product.
Right.
So for the consumer to buy your product that you're selling from China, it's going to cost the consumer more to buy that product.
So if it's made here,
Right.
it's not made of China. We're not
If it's
making
made-
we're
yeah.
not making money off tariffs, so it charges a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
So
But is that correct? Like in terms of like how we understand tariffs. So we want to put a tariff on products from China so that people buy products domestically, correct?
yes. Well, you want to buy products, American products, because you
Sure.
buy American products, it boosts the economy.
Yeah, but how do you do that if like the products from China are so much cheaper? You
They
put
can't
a tariff.
They
on it,
can't
right?
sell. They can't sell. So, for instance, they bought like 400. I want to say like 400,000 acres. I'm not exactly sure. In Mexico, they're going to build an automobile company, right? Do you have any idea what that would do to American auto industry?
If they build a
If they
what?
build a automobile factory in Mexico,
what is
cars
it
would be
gonna do?
cheaper.
Yeah.
But people would have no jobs. That money would not come here. It would go straight to China. The economy
Yeah.
would go down. Inflation goes up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And this people see and like, oh, we're paying $300. $300 ain't nothing compared to like what happened right now with Japan. Well, what was it? The SoftBank.
Yeah, in Japan. Yeah.
They gave $100 billion to the United States, possibly $200 billion that he was saying, right?
Yeah.
$200 billion.
I think it's $100 billion
Yeah.
right now is what they settled on.
They-
Because I think it started at 50, and then like from the video I was watching, and they doubled down on that, and it went to 100.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when they raise these iPhones, they say, okay, I'm going to raise the iPhone, and it's going to cost instead of $1,500, $2,000 because it's going to be the tariffs is going high. But they just made $100 billion deal. So that means less taxes we pay, less inflation, more American jobs.
Yeah,
And everything's controlled by tariffs
yeah,
because these companies,
Yeah.
they don't have just that one business. They make
Yeah.
multiple businesses with the United States. So guess what happens to there?
Mm-hmm.
They're like, okay, you invested in the United States, your tariffs, they're going to go down.
Right. It's not so much that the tariffs are going down, right? It's more of that they're escaping the tariff.
Yeah.
Right. It's more of like what we because we looked at this up. We wanted to talk about that. It was called like tariff jumping.
Yeah, tariff jumping. It's like a saying, you scratch our back, we scratch yours. You don't have to pay tariffs if we don't have
Yeah. So that you invest money into American businesses. So you build your business in America.
Right. So it has when foreign companies invest in the United States, they often establish a local production facility, a strategy known as tariff jumping. Well, tariff jumping, it's a foreign direct investment called the FDI that allows the process of good domestic goods coming to the United States. So those domestic goods that they're bringing, guess what? Trump doesn't have to put tariffs on it because they invest in the United States. So they're saying, like I said earlier about the referrals. You give me referrals, I give you referrals. You invest in us, we're investing in you now.
Yeah.
See what I'm
Which
saying?
to me it only makes sense to do. I don't know why they haven't done that like a long time ago to create an infrastructure for America to be, very self-sufficient. Everything's made here, everything's grown here. We can do, I think there was, they dropped the ball.
Iran made over $90 billion in tariffs alone with the United States.
Was that because of oil?
Oil, goods,
All other kind of
a
stuff.
bunch of stuff that they have, right? And you know what Iran did?
What's that?
They supported Hamas. Where you think they got all the military weapons? No, that's serious. Like,
No, I hear you.
You know what I mean?
But that's crazy.
that's crazy. So same with, let's say they do it with Russia. You don't know what's going to happen 5-6 years from now. Let's say China says, you know what? Then all this money that I got out of tariffs, we're going to either put in our military base or our military infrastructure, or we're going to put it in someone else's that's going to attack you.
Yeah, Russia.
It could be Russia. It could not be. So
Because Russia and China, we know, are
that's why if you're president, you have to be business savvy.
Yeah,
Because you have to run this country like if it's a business as well.
Yeah,
And
and
that's
I don't know why people look at that as a bad thing.
Because
A lot
they
of
don't
people
want-
look at running a country like a business as a bad thing.
Yeah,
That's really actually a great thing.
how do you want to run it? Like, you know what I mean?
I don't know.
There's no other way to run it. People complain about, oh, we got to pay extra.
As long
on
as the
tariffs.
business is like for the employee too.
Well,
You know,
it creates jobs. Like, that's what a lot of people don't understand. It creates jobs. Let's say you have a job in the automobile industry. You lose your job because China built a automobile. Either you move to Mexico, right? Or you find another job. And guess what happens? You think you're going to be the only one? It's going to be hundreds of thousands of people losing jobs. There's hundreds of thousands of people here in the United States.
You're saying because they build a factory in China.
Cars are going to be cheaper.
Everything,
they're going to bring it over
We're buying
here.
everything from China's, so
exactly.
you lose your job as an automobile.
You lose your job. After losing your job, the economy goes down. What happens when the economy goes down? Inflation goes up. Health and welfare goes up. Unemployment goes up. Crime goes up. And people are worried about $300? $400. And get this.
Well, we'll see. That's what I'm saying is all like we as Americans and as like citizens, we enjoyed having a little bit more money in our pocket before the inflation hit. So if these tariffs cause us to lose money, or that we're paying more and we still notice we're not.
Guess when you're going to get
less money in our pocket, we're gonna be like,
if the economy is booming, you have your job, you have you're working, you're paying your taxes. Guess where that money is going to come back? Those $300 that you're complaining about, maybe even 21% when Trump was in office. 21% tax returns came back. Yeah, right. That's why gas was so low, and that's why. I'm living proof of it.
Yeah,
I had to pay taxes during the Biden administration, first time. I've never, first time.
Whoa.
I had to pay taxes, and when I was in
because of what?
Because
of business that did you have like your own like business?
Well, no, not just that. It's because the tax rate went up. There was no tax cuts. They're doing it more for the rich than anything else, right? So, and there's a certain bracket. I want to say 250,000. If you made less than 250,000, you're considered middle class, and you'd have to pay a certain bracket in taxes.
Yeah,
right. But that's the thing. Why am I going to pay taxes but yet pay cheaper on an iPhone? A lot of people don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't know.
Why am I going to pay taxes but pay less on a car? But yet the APRs from the banks are still going up. So you're still paying even higher, more interest on everything else because why? Because of inflation. There is no tariff.
Oh, okay.
There's no tariff structure into it. So, sorry, but I get crazy when it comes to
tariffs. You're good. I'm like still a little bit confused on the whole thing, right. But
no, you're fine, dude.
I definitely still need to do more research to understand a little bit more about what's going on with the whole tariff situation but it makes sense to me that this is what makes sense to me with tariffs is that it makes foreign products go up. Okay, well, what does that cause foreigners to do if we're going to stop buying the foreign products because they're more expensive?
Right.
Foreign countries will invest more into United States business so they can get their business going in the United States. So a lot more money is being, made domestically by the United States using these other people's money from the foreign country, So that makes sense to me on the tariff situation.
And it's not just. It's even our allies. He's doing the same thing to our allies. He's like, you can't take. Look what happened with NATO. We're paid 800 million or 800 billion. I gotta make sure on that, but we're paying 80% of what NATO and the NATO.
We're paying 80% of the NATO
of what NATO has, and NATO pays 20%. Why?
So NATO's like a conglomerate of a whole bunch of countries, right?
Yeah,
right?
It's a whole bunch of countries that started after World War II. NATO's a bunch of countries that trying to prevent what Hitler did, pretty much. Yeah, which ironically, Germany is in NATO.
Yeah.
But when it comes to
isn't that kind of? Sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, go ahead.
I was about to go off on a whole different subject. Though.
Oh, sorry. No, but what happened is that if NATO is taking advantage, who are our allies, Trump says, you know what, I'm gonna stop funding this NATO shit, and this is gonna stop. Well, when he says he's stopped funding NATO, that means military, that means domestic goods, that means economic wise, that means oil, that means whatever and they know this. So guess what? They're like, okay, you know what? Maybe we should be fair and pay our share. Well, guess what? The $800 billion that we've been putting into NATO goes back to the economy. See what I'm saying?
Well,
so
that's good.
Tariffs is a scary, they use it as a scary tactic.
Yeah.
You got to be really familiar with NATO. I mean, with tariffs.
What tariffs?
And what Donald Trump is doing, he's playing chess to a bunch of people that are playing tic-tac-toe. That's pretty much what's going on. And he's the only one that realizes it.
Yeah.
which is crazy. But go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Well, I was just going to talk about the whole NATO thing and how countries join NATO, and I guess that's what created a lot of conflict, right, between Russia and Ukraine, was because Ukraine joined NATO, and that was like one of the things that they were kind of like upset about, and why they kind of forced their hand into that whole war situation.
Yeah,
was because Ukraine joined NATO.
Yeah, well,
It was part of it, at
that
least, right?
Yeah, I feel like that was the main idea.
Yeah.
That it was because, but they're using it as an excuse as we wanted Crimea because it always belonged to the USSR.
Right. It's always been a target.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but in reality, so what Ukraine and the United States are doing, they wanted to join NATO. If they join NATO, they can have a United States military air base. They can have weapons of mass destruction. They can have everything because they're an ally of ours.
Right there on.
Well, during the JFK presidency, Russia did the same thing to Cuba. And that's what the whole thing started with too. Remember I was talking earlier about the missiles and
Cuba
stuff?
was joining NATO?
No, Russia was allies with Cuba. And they put their missiles right next to the United States. Well, the United States are like, hell no, you're not doing that, right? So, and then we talk about the Bay of Pigs, and then it gets deeper and deeper into that. They're like, yeah, you're not doing that. So all of a sudden, the United States wanted to do the same thing to Russia, and Russians are like, nah, you can't do that. We're gonna have to start something going on. We don't want Ukraine to be in NATO for that main reason. What are we gonna do? We're gonna say, you know what? We wanted Crimea the whole time, and that's how this war actually began. I feel that's just my opinion. So, but how much money? Get this, that a lot of people don't understand. How much money does the government, from us to Russia to Ukraine to anybody involved with China, how much money do these people get off military weapons? How much money do they make?
Tons. So they call that the military-industrial complex.
Oh yeah,
it's just so much money going on, dude, with like war and fighting, and there's just so much money to be made. So it's, I think
it's like you have to have war to have income.
Yeah. For a lot of companies, at least, you have to have something going
billions of dollars.
Yeah, but I mean, as well, you want to get those government contracts, because even during peace times, we spend so much. We'll spend billions on our military just because we want to maintain a level of, I don't know, a level of superiority, I guess. Just to make sure that we're not.
You don't want to have a weak military and they know about it.
Yeah, exactly. So you just having that much spending in your military, maintaining your military, kind of makes people not want to have conflict. I don't lack of a better term, but it makes it so, having conflict. It's like that's the worst thing you want to do is go to war against the United States, because we spend so much money towards our military.
That's why we need
have
tariffs.
Such a huge military. We have, it's something you don't want to do.
And
your children's children will feel the,
And where do you think all this money comes from? Conflict. Where do you think this money comes from that they pay for all this stuff? Tariffs.
Yeah.
There you go. See,
tariffs.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, there's other, oil and the economy and whatnot.
Right.
But most tariffs.
Yeah,
they get that money from tariffs. So you're building your military, and what about the United States?
Right.
Like, oh hell no.
Well, we need to build. Yeah. Well, the United States continues to build our military, but it's like, are we living on borrowed money? Right.
Oh yeah. Every country's living off borrowed money.
Yeah. The debt is like so high, right?
Trillions.
Yeah.
I think it's up to
tens of trillions, isn't it?
It can be up there.
Yeah,
it could be.
It's a ton. It's crazy how, but exactly. I think that Donald Trump's plan is solid. I think that using those tariffs to create more infrastructure within America is a good idea. I think that's what we should be going for. And I think whenever I'm like looking on social media, a lot of people think that it's going to be bad for the citizen, because they think that we're going to be paying more on our products and everything like that. But maybe we're paying a little bit more for a little while or something like that.
You get all that back in the taxes.
Yeah.
If the economy's down.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that, like, I don't know. I wanted to see where it goes. I'm excited and I'm optimistic about
this. Is going to be interesting.
Plan. Yeah.
I mean, I hate saying that we're witnessing history, because it takes about 20 years before you can actually see the outcome of someone's historical event.
Which is unfortunate, because, the next, so Trump is not going to be able to be president again after this, right?
Yeah, that's his second.
So imagine if maybe Democrats somehow get hold again, or because that's the constant battle, right? It's like, okay, we want to do this, but because we only have this much time, and somebody else is going to be in office next after us, they're going to undo all the work we did for that. How are we ever going to realize
all the judges right now in the Senate?
Yeah.
Like everybody's Republican.
Right
and somebody
now,
told me that it's going to take. It's not even going to be in our lifetime that we're going to see even maybe a Democrat in there because they have judges and they have under judges, right? In case something happens to them. And they're all Republican. Like, yeah, they're in the Republican Party. But
so there may be some potential for some real change happening.
There is definitely going to be real change. That's why I'm saying it's kind of going to be historical because I don't think that's even happened in the history of the United States that everyone's Republican, every judge. Yeah. But you know what? This is going to be crazy. You ready for this?
Yeah.
I don't think people are worried about Donald Trump. They're worried about what Donald Trump has embedded in
what he started.
He started. Because get this, not only J.D. Vance, super intelligent, he's going to follow his policies. Tulsi Gabbard follows Donald Trump's policies, right? Yeah, they're young enough to be president. But that's not the big one. The big one is his family. His son, that's 18 years old, he was born pretty much in the White House.
Yeah.
Yeah. Donald Trump's policies are in this kid, right? He even helped him win the election. I don't know if you heard about that. 18 years old.
Barron Trump?
Yeah, Barron Trump. 18 years old. I mean, top of his class. He's a smart dude, right?
Yeah.
He's in business school now. Oh. Yeah, big surprise, right?
Yeah.
But when this kid gets older, Trump's legacy is going to still continue. And this kid's 18 years old.
Yeah. No, I imagine we'll hear.
I don't even know if we'll see a Democrat in the next 20 years, to be honest with you.
Maybe we'll see.
I think J.D. Vance is going to run, and I think he's going to do I don't know if he'll do 8, but he'll definitely do the 4 years, the one term.
Yeah.
And then Donald Trump Jr. is going to run because they're really good friends, and that's why J.D. Vance even got the vice presidency because they're really close. So you got this legacy that you're leaving behind that is going to have the same Trump policies.
Right.
And people hate that.
Yeah. It's I'm really excited though to see like how if that's true, where we maintain like where one party maintains control for this amount of time, and the ideals of whatever Trump began, takes hold, and like we are able to create an infrastructure like 20 years down the line of like those policies, and it's a very positive thing for America. I'm like so praying for the best outcome right now from all of this.
Well,
I really just want to see where it goes though.
And I think Trump,
I know a lot of people who are very scared too right now. They're very scared about with having Trump back in there and all the things.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know. I think that it's either
change. You don't think they like
change, and they think that I don't know. They just don't like Trump too. Which
I can see that. I
can relate to what they're saying just because the rhetoric that Trump has had, but it's all like, oh, well, Trump has said mean things, or Trump's racist, which has been, I feel like, debunked to no end about him being racist, and he's insensitive, and he's not a nice
criminal
guy, and criminal.
He didn't have any of these tax felonies till he ran for president.
Yeah. And I mean, if he's a criminal, they're all criminals, honestly. So, and even if all of it's true of what they're saying, he's not a nice guy. He has shady business practice, as any businessman probably does, who escapes taxes in a legal way just because the tax code is all screwed up. Like he said,
Hillary Clinton.
Yeah, exactly.
That's her tax code. He just followed it.
Exactly.
And then he gets accused of a crime.
Right. So he just, takes advantage as a smart guy does. That makes me smart. That makes him smart.
Well, Hillary Clinton did that. So
if you don't like your taxes, change the tax code, but he knows that they won't.
Because she needs the money.
Yeah, exactly.
That she gives these big old billionaires tax cuts, right?
Right.
Why wouldn't he take it? That makes no sense.
Sure. Exactly.
And then you're going to commit him a crime because of it?
You're going to talk down on him. He's like, are you talking down upon all of your constituents, Hillary? Because
he's not the worst president when it comes to you have people like Andrew Johnson, who, when Lincoln died, after he got assassinated, he tried to put the slavery amendment back. He wanted to go back to the slavery after the 13 colonies, after they had the Civil War.
Yeah.
I mean, That's a piece of shit move to do.
It is.
And then people say, Trump's the worst. I'm like,
nah.
What? And there's more presidents that done that,
Yeah.
Thomas Jefferson, who was married for 30-some years, wife dies, and then marries. Oh, I don't think he marries because he promised her he would never marry. But he gets with her sister that passed away, and she's half black, so she was a slave.
Yeah.
And then gets 6 children out of them, and then uses the children as slaves. Yeah.
No way.
And this is a guy who wrote All Men Should Be Created Equal.
My gosh.
So you got to know your history before
That's
you start talking
brutal.
about Trump.
That's gnarly.
And the problem is that these people go to TikTok and, Instagram. Oh, I heard this on TikTok.
Yeah.
That's not a reliable source. Anyone can just fucking go to TikTok and say, I went to the moon.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hate when people do that. I hate when people say, oh, yeah, I saw this on Facebook. An alien came down and molested this person right here. I'm like, I can't believe they're doing this. I'm like, it's...
Anytime you hear that.
Yeah, it's like, what
I saw it on Facebook.
Yeah.
I saw it on TikTok.
That's not a reliable source.
Yeah.
I think I told you about when I did that Frederick Douglass presentation.
Yeah, Frederick Douglass.
I did a
lot for
presentation.
Civil rights.
Yeah, I did a presentation on Frederick Douglass. And dude,
not civil rights, but
well, it was civil rights.
Was it civil rights? Oh, I thought it was more during like the 1800s when slaves were being freed and stuff.
Well, yeah, that was a civil rights movement. That was the
I thought civil rights movement was more of like the 70s.
Well, that's where it came from
and stuff.
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. 70s, yeah. But no, that's where they got the civil movement was from the Civil War, pretty much from the it was 1860. But what Frederick Douglass, I thought I did a really good job. I did my work. I did I think it was like a 2,000 page, not page, 2,000 word essay on Frederick Douglass, and everything was right. So I'm like, oh, this is an easy A, right? Dude, I got an 88%. And
really?
I'm like, what?
I put my all into that.
Yeah, and the professor even said, hey, this is a great presentation. Everything was perfect.
Yeah.
And I said, then why'd you give me an 88? And she goes, your resources were off. And I said, the resources you use are so elementary.
What does she mean by that?
So because I use Wikipedia, he goes, anyone can go to Wikipedia. And people can change Wikipedia. Anyone can go to Encyclopedia. Anyone can go to Google. I see. You didn't really get deep into it. And I'm like, and I'm so glad that happened to me because now when someone says something and they're like, yeah, I saw it off TikTok. I'm like, wait a minute. If I got an 88, screw you. No, hell no. That's not going to fly with me now. Yeah. So now you have to have a reliable source for me to believe it.
So what counts as a reliable source to a professor then? Is it like some established book?
You got to do your own work. You got to look up different articles.
Well, it wasn't like you copy and pasted the Wikipedia, but...
Well, no, but...
like doing your own work as in what? Like I got to use a different source other than Wikipedia? I would do the exact same thing I did with Wikipedia, but what? With like a book that somebody wrote?
Yeah, you can. So what? Like
nobody can change that book, but it's still just one man's opinion, right?
Yeah, it's your opinion, but you're analyzing it into
right. It's your opinion.
Puzzles.
You're using this book as okay. So like you didn't use Wikipedia, you used a book from so and so as your resource. Okay, so it's like what's the difference though?
So what?
It's like obviously nobody can change Wikipedia, but why does this person's opinion?
They could change Wikipedia. I can go in there and type something different.
No, yeah. No, I'm not saying that you can't change Wikipedia. What I'm saying is that this book that you cited, for whatever reason, the professor looks at this book, which can't be changed because it's not Wikipedia. They look at this book as a better resource than Wikipedia. But why? Because it can't be changed, or because it's one man's opinion? This person.
I see what you're saying.
This person has an established. This person has what is about this person that makes them better, more credible.
So
to use as a resource.
If you're gonna do, let's say you're gonna do about World War II, right? There's tons of books of World War II. Let's say you read 5-6 books on World War II, and then you have to put your resources. You put the author of who wrote the book, but then because then you'd be plagiarizing. But then you get pieces off that book, pieces off this book, pieces off that book, and then you put it into your own. So then that's how you can prove on World War II. And then on top of that,
because they're all saying the same thing.
They might be saying the same thing. And then on top of that, if you say, well, this book is saying this and this book is saying that, but then I put them together and it's different. Like I'm finding something here different. I'm going to write an article about this because it's not right. Let's say Hitler never did drugs and Hitler was an angel, right?
So basically history is dependent upon enough sources saying the same thing.
Enough sources saying the same thing, and then you can come up with your own. You have to come up with your own and why you think that. So let's say Hitler was I don't know, let's say he was an angel and he was a priest for his first, 15 years of life.
Mm.
How am I going to prove that? Oh, he went to church here. Oh, but he did this. Oh, wait a minute. And then I'm like, well, it doesn't add up. No, he wasn't a good person.
Yeah.
And that's how
But it's
you write your own paperwork.
Yeah. Because I could use that argument as from a religious standpoint too for Jesus Christ, right? Because there's so much literature about Jesus Christ actually existing.
And that's what people did. They did their own work and their own source.
Yeah. So and that's my point right now is like, okay, so from a religious standpoint, if I want to prove Jesus Christ's existence, I don't think I have to do very much because so much literature is out there about Jesus Christ.
Yeah, but the best part is you can read all this literature, read all the info, do everything. And then if something clicks and doesn't make sense, you come up with, okay, why isn't this? You got to start asking questions. Why did this happen? And why did this not happen? Wait a minute, did historians miss something here? And then that's where it really gets deep and interesting. And then that's your own work.
Because you're just saying if there was like a discrepancy that you notice between works, right?
Same with history.
Right. But if they're all saying the same thing, then it's credible, right?
Yeah. If everyone says, this happened and this happened, exactly the same thing. Let's say 6 books that I read on World War II, and it's exactly to the T. I can't fight that. That actually happened.
Yeah.
But if this one says, this was a little different, and this subject was a little different, and then I start questioning myself, and I say, well, okay, let me do my own work.
Yeah.
And let's see where I can come up with. And sometimes I'll find something and sometimes I won't.
I think people would be actually a little bit surprised at what they find out. If they use that type of okay, enough people said that this is true, then it must be true kind of thing. Right. I think you might be surprised at what you would have to okay, I have to accept this as truth then. If enough people are saying it's true.
Unless you can prove it wrong.
It's true.
Unless you can prove it.
Right.
Wrong.
Which, I mean, how many things in history can we say that about?
Yeah.
As long as enough people are saying that.
That's why these historians know what happened, because it's not just one person saying it. It's there's documentaries. Thomas Jefferson left a lot of documentaries.
I bet there's subjects, though, that people want to fight still.
Oh, yeah. It's always going to. Because when you do your own paperwork, that's your opinion, right? It
depends on the subject, I think.
And people are going to be like, well, you know what? I don't acknowledge your opinion. I don't know what school you went to. I don't know why you're credible. Why should I listen to you? So that's where the arguments start. And when it comes to politics and stuff, same thing.
But if you're saying something and somebody's asking, hey, why should I listen to you? And you're able to cite, well, this source says this source says this source says, and on down the line, should that be the convincing argument?
When I listen to a source, I got to see their background. So if you have a psychologist talking about history, it's credible, but not as credible as a historian talking about history. Or if I look up at a doctor and let's say a neurosurgeon, but a cardiologist is telling me something about neurosurgery, I won't take it as much as credible as if it was a neurosurgeon. So education is important when it comes to being a resource.
Yeah, no, it is. It is. No, I agree with you. I agree. I think there's also a little, we need to also leave room for an open mind for a lot of stuff too, because as much as we want to say we know so much, we know so little.
Oh, so the person who says they know everything knows nothing.
Right.
That's why you always learn.
Yeah.
There's always, and that's why. That's why I read this book called "Coddling of the American Mind." Have you ever heard of it? And it shows in the book. It says these kids are coddled as parents. They have the Peanut Project, and what the Peanut Project was, they put 50 kids. Half of them had peanuts and half of them didn't, right? And this is Jonathan Haidt, and I might mispronounce his last name, but what they did was they came up with the research that the kids...
So half of them had peanuts.
Yeah, so he started...
And half of them just had nothing?
Half of them had peanuts and half of them didn't eat peanuts, right? So the reason he did this was because the schools were telling him, hey, you can't have anything with peanuts, anything because of allergies, and these kids are Well, it came out that the kid that didn't eat peanuts, right, that were all coddled and worried about, end up having peanut allergies anyway. The whole time. And the kids that ate the peanuts, right?
Yeah.
I think 90% of them didn't have a peanut allergy.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
So,
because obviously I think you develop an allergy these days also I don't know if you develop it or if you're born with it or if it just comes out of nowhere. But I don't think you're like, hey, we're not going to give you peanuts ever just because
You might be allergic
to them. It's just something that I ate peanuts this one day and suddenly I was allergic. Like my fiance, she's allergic to eggs, but she wasn't always allergic to eggs.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, it was just something that suddenly happened.
Yeah, and well, the thing is, the whole peanut project comes to like this generation we live in now. They're coddled so much. You know, you have kids that misbehave at schools, and then instead of being disciplined, they're taught that they're right, and the parent comes and screams at the teacher and so forth. So they have this kind of belief that their opinion is truth. That's actually what it is. It's the truth, even though in fact it's just an opinion. So if you don't agree with them, you don't agree with the truth. See what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, I agree. And like, are they sure? Are they like how? So are they're at 100% certainty it's the truth?
Yeah. Well, you had these people like in Columbus University. You know, they're all for Syria, right? But they didn't know what the river to the sea. You know what that meant. They didn't know why Hamas attacked Israel. They don't know anything. They just want to be part of something, and and that's their opinion, and that's the truth. But they don't have an open mind about anything because they've been coddled by their own, I don't know about their own parents, but by society itself.
Yeah.
That they think they're always correct on everything.
Right.
And then they act when you prove a point. Have you ever talked to somebody?
It's hard not to like project that too on myself, I think.
Yeah.
Like
that's why it's good to be open-minded.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I've been brought up to believe a certain way, I think, and I don't think that it's like, you know, wrong to say that I think what I think that I'm right a lot of times.
Mm-hmm.
You know, does that mean I am, or does it? You know, I could be wrong. You know, I don't
what
know.
Is right? What is wrong? That's the thing. You know what I mean?
That's a deep subject.
That's very deep.
Yeah.
But yeah, and when I talk to people, and what's crazy is a lot of younger generations. Have you ever noticed that when they're saying no, you know, they have a certain thing that they're passionate about, right?
Yeah.
And you prove them wrong by saying a fact or whatever. Yeah. And then they come out with either violence or they start saying because they have no other way to react.
Yeah.
You know,
a lot of them.
They'll be like,
I've seen some be like, oh, well, you know, actually I didn't think about it that way. You know, I've seen some of them.
Oh yeah, there's people out there.
But a lot of times, it's just like, no, I'm not going to even acknowledge
the LBGT community is a perfect example.
Yeah. I know I'm definitely a two-gender kind of like thought process, but I can't even begin to understand what's going through somebody's mind.
Yeah, I mean,
on all of that.
But why would you want to embed it in the children?
That's the problem.
That's the problem.
Really the problem.
I can care less if you're LBGT.
We're going to do sex changes for my 10-year-old or something like that. It's totally like out of this world.
And that book is right because they're so coddled that they think they're right. That's the right thing to do.
Yeah.
And now you're like in a whole psychological warfare.
Yeah, I can't even understand.
Now it gets deeper.
Like, I can't even understand that thought process, that way of thinking, that to like do that for a child. You know, I think they do. I think that this was some of the argument that I heard that they want to make is that it's life saving to do these surgeries because the kid is so convinced that they're this gender or something over here that if you don't, you know, do this gender affirmative surgery, you know, we're going to change this boy into a girl because he's so like, I am a girl, you know, I have to have the surgery, otherwise I'm so depressed I'm going to kill myself or something like that. And that's their argument, is that that's the life-saving part of it. They're saving their life by doing the surgery because they're going to kill themselves otherwise.
But if you really want to get deep in that, who embedded that in the beginning?
I don't know.
We have the answer. We just said it earlier. These people that do it to these kids and they embed it.
I don't know where the idea came from.
Well, what I'm saying is these kids that are in school and then the teachers or whoever is embedding them that, you know, they should be trans or they should have a sex change.
Yeah.
Then they're convinced in their mind and that's the right thing to do. So when they get older, they say, well, I'm going to end up, you know, committing suicide. I'm going to end up doing this because they've been taught and coddled that that's the right thing to do. It's not really their fault. You know, that's why it's so important to stop children from doing this, because as they get older,
and I've heard stories,
it stays in their head.
Yeah. Well, and I've heard stories of like, man, why did you guys let me do that when I was 10 years old? Because now I really wish I hadn't.
Exactly.
I've heard of that happening a lot of times. So
if you want to do it when
you're like whatever, 18.
Your brain's fully developed at 25.
25.
So, yeah.
That's when I would approve of those types of decisions. But and there's nothing anybody should be able to say about it. But honestly, I wouldn't do it until then.
And same thing with the Abortion Act. You know, people have their morals. They say, well, this is completely wrong. And some people say this is completely right. But the crazy part is they both think they're right.
Yeah.
You know?
And I've been doing a little bit more research on that because, I lean right on a lot of those subjects, even on abortion. So this was like a thing I found like as a good argument towards abortion was that, okay, if we're going to say that somebody committed double homicide because a pregnant woman, or double manslaughter, we'll just say. Well, we won't even go to double homicide, but I mean that's also on the table if you murdered a pregnant woman. But let's just say you you were drunk driving and you hit a pregnant woman, and even if she didn't die, but the fetus died, that would be a homicide.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's not to their advantage. Like, it's not to...
So it's not a homicide, though, if it's like an abortion. So it's like, as long as you want the baby dead, and as long as the mother wants the baby dead.
Even if they don't want it dead, let's just say that you murdered somebody that was pregnant. That's that's a double...
Yeah, they wouldn't say they wanted the baby dead. They would say they just wanted this thing that's not really alive, but really, actually, I would say it is alive.
I even think a sickle cell is...
Wow.
That's still
still life.
That's still life fetus. Like, and people say, well, no, how can it not? So
if we found a single cell organism on another planet, we would call it life.
Yeah, that's life.
Yeah.
That's exactly correct. Yeah, that's life. But because it's not to their advantage. Yeah. My body, my choice. Okay. There's ways to prevent it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Don't wait till 8 months. Like, that makes no sense whatsoever. And you know what's crazy? If you don't want the baby, you can get an abortion as a mother. But if you don't want the baby, as a father, you have to pay child support.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. That's another.
Like, what in the hell? How the hell does that make sense?
And another good argument is like, okay, if we're going to allow like abortion, we should allow that a man should be able to forego his rights and not pay child support.
Right. But what's crazy, there's ways to prevent this. That's what's crazy. It's not like if you get pregnant, you have to have, no, you can go, there's a plan B, you can go get an abortion like 4 or 5 weeks into it or whenever you find out. I mean, don't wait 8 months you're pulling a baby apart. I mean, once you hear a heartbeat, once you have blood cells, once you have any kind of movement, the baby's alive.
Yeah.
And what happens when something's alive? They feel pain. They feel it.
Man, some of those I've seen some videos of abortion, like the abortions and like late term and stuff, and it's terrible.
It's horrible.
It's such a nightmare.
But why do you think everyone's so obsessed with having abortions? And you know what's crazy? Sorry, I forgot to mention this. Everyone keeps saying, "Well, Trump." Trump has nothing to do with the abortions in the United States. Okay?
Right. Well, I mean, he just basically gave it to.
Yes.
Made it so like the
governor,
the
state its own. Each state can have their own policy.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I'm not going to deal with this shit. You guys can deal with it. But yet everyone wants to blame Trump. That's why it was another thing about when the reporters would ask him, oh, well, what do you think? What's your take on abortion? I have nothing to do with it. Talk to your governor. Don't talk to me about it. I got other shit. I got China and fucking Russia and Hamas and shit to worry about. I got the economy to worry about.
Which I think that's like the best way to approach some of these subjects, like with like legalization of like certain like certain drugs and things like that, and abortion, and it should be a lot of it should just be the state itself.
The state itself, you have the governor,
and like have zero federal like
involvement.
They should not mess with it. Federal government should have nothing to do with what the state does. It was like when Obama's administration was like hitting all the legal states because there was like or what was it, the Obama administration that was like where like dispensaries were getting raided and stuff, like that had like legalized marijuana and stuff. And like because federally it was still illegal, but
are you talking about like
during
they had petty theft policy that anything over $1,000 or anything less than $1,000 is petty theft. Is that what you're talking about? And that's under the
there was,
Biden Kamala administration.
Oh, I'm not. No, it was some years ago, like before even Trump, I think, was in office, where there was it was just when states were just barely starting to legalize marijuana.
Oh, okay. So.
And there was several federal government raids on these dispensaries because it was still technically federally illegal.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they.
Do you think they should legalize?
Where federal law can actually step in on state law and supersede state law, where I don't think that should be the case.
Yeah, you're right. Do you think that's a bit do you think marijuana should be legal or illegal?
I think it should be. State by state, and I think that it should be legalized medically in all states, and then I don't.
If you can have alcohol, honestly, why can't you have marijuana?
I used to smoke marijuana, so I know and now I'm not smoking it. And if it was legal, I probably would. I know I still wouldn't because I've had a lot of bad experiences in later life with it. So, and now I'm totally haven't smoked at all for years, and I'm perfectly fine with it. I was addicted for many years, and now that haven't had it in so long, I'm totally okay with it. So it's just something that I think can help a lot of people too, but I do think that it can be abused just like anything else.
Yeah. Well, Thomas, this was great. Yeah. We had a great conversation.
Yeah. It was awesome, dude.
Sorry it took so long.
No problem.
Let's get a little cheers.
Yeah, cheers.
Cheers for a great episode. And anything else you want to say before we head out?
No, I just I really appreciate this opportunity, to talk to you about on all these subjects. It's been a great time, and I'm sorry we haven't gotten together sooner.
No, for sure. We're definitely going to keep going. And like I say, I love having these conversations with you. And we're definitely going to look into that JFK.
Yeah, we gotta go deep.
I know some things, but I want to go I want to go in. Like they say, I want to go in deeper.
Exactly.
So, all right. Cool. Well, thanks a lot.
All right. Thank you guys. Have a good night.